I always say the issue isn't that you're too nice, it's that you're too afraid to say no, or that for some other reason you struggle to put your foot down, you struggle to not tolerate certain bad, unhealthy behaviors. You're too concerned with hurting feelings, which to a certain extent that's good, but not to the detriment of you being honest, transparent, or you getting what you need in a relationship. And so I want you as a woman to stop these quote unquote nice girl habits. Now, I've talked about this before. I gave 5 before, but I got 7 more today, okay? And some of these are what I consider very serious issues we need to discuss, all right? So, with no further ado, let's just get it going right now, okay? The first big one, hold on to your seats. I don't want some to be bothered by this topic, but we gotta talk about it. A big nice girl habit you gotta stop doing is not being honest about his sexual performance. Now listen, this is not to say you should be having sex with this man already, or if you're not married to him, whatever. I'm not here to discuss that aspect of it. We all recognize there are people who are waiting, there are people who are doing it now. It is your choice, right? But no matter which one you fall under, what I have seen over and over and over again are women not being honest and transparent about the man's quality of performance in the bedroom, as well as not being honest and transparent about what she really needs to be sexually receptive to him. All right. So I remember one time, uh, it was at a party. This was a long time ago, but it was a party. This was when I was much, much younger. Long story short, there was a bunch of us talking outside. We're like sitting on the front porch, and I don't know how it came up, but one girl was talking about the guy she's with. She's been with him for 2 years. She loves him, all this stuff, thinks he's a great guy. And I don't know how the sex part came up, but she ended up acknowledging, well, he doesn't know I've never had an orgasm with him. So this man, for 2 years, thinks he's King Dingaling in the bedroom. I don't know why I always use that title, but he thinks he's doing it big. He thinks he is laying it down. And the whole time, she's never experienced orgasm. Now, some of you might say, well, Stefan, we can still enjoy it even though that's not happening. Okay, I hear you. I understand that. But in this example, it wasn't all that to her regardless. And what she explained was, I don't want to hurt his feelings, and I just feel like I like him too much to let that ruin the situation. Okay? So I understand why a lot of women are not transparent. And there's the concern that men's egos are very fragile, and so they don't know how to take that constructive criticism. I get it. The problem is those same women who don't say anything during the dating or boyfriend girlfriend phase or whatever, and they're not really satisfied, that carries over into marriage. And at some point, even if you don't want to let him go despite his struggle in that area, if you are not motivated enough to be receptive to him sexually and pour into him in that way, well, we are setting the stage for a huge problem later. Because sexual neglect or sexual inactivity, however, I don't know if I'm saying that word correctly right now, but lack of sex, okay, is a huge contributor to a lot of people struggling right now in their marriage. And there's this huge disconnect with men and women, or more specifically right now, with men understanding what that woman needs to even be receptive to her. And because the fact is, she never really liked it that much, whether with him or even for some people in general, okay? And that's what not being honest about this is going to turn into for a lot of people. So yeah, you may not leave him, but if you're not willing to lay down with him as often, we still have a problem, okay? So it's important, and not to mention, I want you to get yours. Like I want you as a woman to enjoy yourself in the bedroom too. I don't want you to be in a marriage and not have that need fulfilled. I want everyone to be happy, man and woman. And if we're going to get to that happy place, we need to create more honesty and transparency as quickly as possible in a relationship. Now, whatever the point is that you cross that line of being intimate, I would say even before we get to that point, I would really love to see more couples establish a safe space of communication where we can constructively criticize or constructively suggest how we can make this better for each other. And if you want to be able, or if you want him to be more receptive to what you have to say about that, and you want to soften the blow of your suggestions, okay, you have to be open to his as well. You can't, I know there's a lot of women who just naturally assume they're just great in bed, no complaint. And it's like, no, there might be some things that he would like adjusted as well. Okay. And I think what's great about establishing those kind of conversations as early as possible is that one, we may discover that we're just not on the same page sexually, and this is just going to be a disaster waiting to happen. So let's not push this thing any further. Or again, we can create an environment and experience that's so enjoyable for the both of us that only strengthens the relationship. That only strengthens the marriage. All right. It will bring two people closer together when they truly know how to satisfy each other in this area. So again, I know it can be scary. I think, of course, you have to be mindful of how you make these suggestions, these constructive criticisms, but I definitely think you've got to establish that early on. And for those of you who say, well, you know, some of these men you just can't talk to about that. Well, if you can't talk to him about it, why would you be with him then? Because it won't stop there. If he's unable to hear you out, and again, with an issue that is going to be beneficial to both, because if he learns how to better satisfy you, you will be more motivated to satisfy him. And therefore, any fears or concerns he has of the intimacy falling off later in life with you can be diminished, because now we understand how we need to show up for each other. Now, before I move on to this next point, let me also say this, because one of the things that frustrates me as a coach is I feel like so many women in general, forget very specific situations, the general public in society is essentially lying to men about what is really needed to create healthy, successful, long-term sexual dynamic in their marriage and long-term relationships, right? And part of that is because I don't think there's enough of discussion about what the woman needs outside the bedroom that feeds inside the bedroom. So I always say the connection outside the bedroom feeds the connection inside the bedroom. But if he is being told, and this is what's happening with a lot of men, they're being told that women are just as sexual as them, which I 100% disagree with. I know some of y'all may not like that, and I'll eventually make a video up to break that whole thing down. But women and men are different, very different. It doesn't mean there aren't women out there who are just as sexual or more sexual than a man. Some women right now have the higher libido than their partner in marriage. However, in general, and even with the higher libido, in general, there are still some very significant differences that people have to be mindful of. And one of the most common ones is how where a woman is mentally and emotionally will have a huge impact on her being receptive sexually and her even being able to enjoy the experience, even if she engages. Okay? If she's overly stressed, if she has too much to think about, there's too much going on, that can throw everything off. That doesn't work exactly the same for the majority of men. I always make the joke, World War III could be going on outside and men are still going to be focused in that moment. A lot of them, okay? But for a woman, it could be as simple as the kids are at someone else's house that she doesn't feel comfortable with. That by itself can throw her whole energy off sexually, where she either will not be receptive or not be able to enjoy it because her mind is elsewhere. Now, there's a lot more I can break down with that. We won't get into all that. I will just wrap this point up by saying I want you to be more honest and transparent about the quality of the experience and what can be adjusted to make things better.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there.
You know, I always say the issue isn't that you're too nice, it's that you're too afraid to say no, or that for some other reason you struggle to put your foot down, you struggle to not tolerate certain